Welcome to the STEM Pathways with Rohan Sharma podcast, where we dive into the exciting world of science, technology, engineering, and math. In each episode, we share exciting stories, groundbreaking research, and inspiring interviews with experts and enthusiasts who are pushing the boundaries of innovation. Whether you're a student, a professional, or just curious about how the world works, join us as we explore the endless possibilities of STEM. Let's get started. Today I'll be interviewing Brandon Bayer, who holds a bachelor's degree in electrical engineering from Wright State University. How are you doing today?
I'm great. It's good to be here.
Yeah, so to get started, I wanted to ask what made you choose your major for your bachelor's degree?
Well, my dad was an electrical engineer, and I really wanted to become a pilot, and have like a corporate pilot as my job. But it takes a lot of training and therefore money to build up like your flight training hours and stuff to become a corporate pilot. And so I thought my dad just was like interesting. And I was like, okay, I'll do electrical engineering as my degree, become an engineer, like make good money, and use that to pay for my flight training and become a pilot. So that was my plan. But in the process of getting my electrical engineering degree, they made me take a software class on the C programming language, and I was like, holy crap! Now this is actually fun. And so I got a job as an intern, uh, becoming as a software engineer, and I really just fell in love with software and never did flying as a job, even though I fly on the side for fun.
Yeah. So what was your first job out of your bachelor's degree?
So it was intern partway through college. Started as an intern at company was Trimble Navigation, and I was doing embedded programming with the C language in microcontrollers that were controlling like construction lasers.
Yeah. And was it a good first job, you think, to kind of show you what you want to do after that?
Kinda. It was a good job in that um, it was like a good work environment. But the problem was I was working alone a lot of the time, and so I didn't have like really experienced people around me to learn from.
Mhm.
And I ended up being there for 5 years, and like was really stagnated. Like I didn't learn a lot. It was just kind of the same thing over and over.
Mhm.
Um, so I think the answer is kind of no, that it wasn't really that good. But I like started getting into like some Twitter and different things where I started seeing more like opportunities out there that were more in line with like what I really wanted to do.
So yeah, I guess what was your next job then?
So the next job was, which I was wanting to leave, um, but it was really kind of triggered by moving states. So I moved from Minnesota, or sorry, from Ohio to Minnesota, lived up there for 3 years. And so I was trying to find jobs up there and couldn't get the jobs that I actually wanted, but got as a job as a support engineer. It was equally as like kind of boring. Like I was able to learn some new things because it was new stuff. But what I really wanted to do was get into web programming. And I kind of learned that early on where it was like, I knew that it was like creative and I wanted to do more visual stuff and get away from the embedded stuff only.
Mhm. And how many years were you at this job for?
Uh, Three,
Mhm. And as went along, did you realize that kind of wasn't exactly what you wanted to be doing?
I was like, it was, I mean, pretty early. So like in the first job, partway through, I realized that I wanted to be an entrepreneur and actually like run my own software company someday and wanted to get into web programming. So it was like 5 years or something where I knew that I wanted to like get into web development, but I was like wasn't able to really get there. And then in the second job on the side, I ended up teaching myself JavaScript, teaching myself React, and then the opportunity, and then I wanted to also um, do consulting. So in my mind, being like a freelance consultant was kind of like an intermediate step between just being a regular employee and running my own company. And so I was like, okay, I'll be a consultant first. But then it worked out for me to launch out into freelance and work on a web project. And so that was like a big moment for me.
And when you were doing freelance, how hard was it to like find people to work with and I guess get opportunities?
So my first client I got was my former employer. And I was moving back from Minnesota to Ohio, and I was like, hey, I'm leaving, but I would still like I'm still interested to do this web project that they had like planned for me to actually do. And so we worked out a deal where I could just freelance for them. And so overnight, I went from working like 40 hours to 30 hours, went from in person to remote, and tripled my income. So that was a lot of fun. Um, and then it wasn't too hard to find clients. I only needed about one to two, maybe three clients, new clients per year. And so one of those I got from a local connection at a meetup. And then most of the rest of them I got from online, like Twitter, my Twitter network, even though I didn't have very many followers, like 1 to 2,000 followers at that point on Twitter.
Mhm. And were you just kind of building these people websites?
So it was mostly web apps. So not just like a website, but these were like small businesses that had some kind of custom software as part of their business. And so yeah, I was like mainly was the main one building those.
And how long do you spend doing this freelance work?
So I freelanced from 2017 to I guess 2021 when we started Flight Control, the current company that I'm running.
And yeah, so I guess what is flight control?
Flight Control is a platform as a service that deploys applications, servers, databases, static sites, caches to your own AWS account. And so it kind of um, gives you the best of both the worlds of the traditional platforms as a service like Heroku and Vercel. And so those are like you get the ease of use of those, and you get the reliability and the scalability and affordability of raw AWS. And so it makes AWS like so easy to use, and it makes it ultra scalable. And so it's really, really good for new startups starting out because it's really easy to use and they can use AWS credits to cover that part of the cost. And then it will scale with them um, forever. And so it basically replaces the need for hiring DevOps engineers for most companies.
And you've been working on it for like 3.5 years now. How far along in the process are you? And how long do you think it'll take for you to actually be able to launch the company?
So we we started building in 2021 and launched at the beginning of 2022 when we were going through Y-Combinator. So we're now like 3 years old
Mhm.
um, and growing. And what was the rest of the question?
Yeah. I since you had already started back in 2022, I guess how's it changed since then? And are you able to find people to use flight control?
Yeah, so we've grown a lot since then. It has been growth has been slower than we wished it would have been, you know, but I think that's kind of the case for for every company. It's like extremely rare for a company to actually grow faster than you think it's going to. Because as founders, we're pretty optimistic, and we have these dreams about it just like shooting to the moon super fast. But yeah, it's building a software company is really hard. It's a long term journey, but it's been really rewarding. We've been able to build a really awesome product. The product is absolutely amazing now. The customer satisfaction is through the roof. And so we're just continuing to build on the go-to-market side of things, the sales and marketing, building awareness. That's really the main thing where like people just need to know, more people need to know about us. And that's the hard thing for us engineers to do. It's because we're not natural marketers and things, but like that's a huge part of being a successful business is the marketing side.
Yeah. And right now, how big is the team?
We're five full-time and some contractors.
Hmm. And you co-founded this along with one other person, right?
Yep. Mina Abadir, he's a really good friend of mine. He lives in Toronto, and um, we met through an online entrepreneur community called Mega Maker. cool little community. And we actually formed the company 6 months before we met in person for the first time.
Yeah. So, I know being a founder and CEO of a company takes up a lot of time. How busy have you been, and how's it compared to having, I guess, like a normal job?
Um, I have overall, I have worked on average a little more than a normal job, but not that much. Um, so it is hard work. It's really hard work. And depends on like in the earlier days of the company when I was doing a lot of development, like I worked a lot more then. But doing the sales and marketing stuff that I do now, it's harder to work more because you get you kind of get exhausted more. Um, um, so it's definitely like more stress, more things to think about than a normal job. But if you think you want to do it, like just do it. Try it.
Yeah. So, for my last question, I wanted to ask if you have one piece of advice for someone who's still in high school or early in college wanting to follow a similar career path as you.
Yeah, so I would say if you want to get into kind of freelance consulting or running your own company someday or something, the one thing I would say is ship products to users. So build real things, real applications that you put out into the world, whether it's like a mobile app store or website or something, ship them out there and like try to get people to use them. Versus you can build things just for fun and like leave them on your computer, but like you're not going to learn as much and it's not going to be as rewarding if you don't like ship it to actual users and like see how people use it and you'll learn a lot through that. And then you'll give you things that you can point to on job applications and things of being like, hey, I built this and I built this and I learned X, Y, and Z from that. And that'll be a big help in your career.
All right, then. Thank you for joining me on the podcast today.
You're welcome.